Alright, Shalom. Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, Ba'asham Rachak Wadash. And double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace and blessings to the elect. Alright, and this is Amawan from the Great Millstone Camp in Trinidad. Coming back to do another lesson through the Holy Spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai. And basically this lesson based off we're going on here. It's a video that was sent in the group, I believe, by the camp leader from the camp. Alright, Big Brother Makaza sent it in the group. If I'm mistaken, because sometimes you just can't keep up with all the information, but I did ask our brother and he said it was Big Brother Makaza. So, you know, I asked our brother who sent it and he tell me it was him. So, the guy that is seen on the screen is the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, which is the country that we live in. Is a, as they call it, a twin island country. Yeah, a twin island country, meaning it are two separate islands, but we consider it as one country. So there's Trinidad and there's Tobago. He is the Prime Minister for the both pieces of land. And you're going to hear him speak on things pertaining to future. Alright? Things pertaining to the future of this country, and basically which would be the world, ultimately world future, because it's one plan. Alright? And I will just say this real quick. This country is not the richest country in the world, nor do we have the best infrastructures in the world. There's still places in this very said country that don't have, alright, indoor plumbing. There's still places in this country that the roads aren't paved, and there's people living in the places where you're talking about, but the roads to get there aren't paved. Yeah? But he is vouching for something that you're going to hear him speak about. And the reason for that is not because he wants to, or maybe he does. Yeah, he does want to, but it's not because, like, if he had a choice not to, he may not have go down that road. But you see, the thing is, he have no choice in the matter, because he have bosses, and his bosses wants that what he is pushing. So that is why he pushing it. So now, without further ado, play this clip.
Most interesting I've heard all afternoon, you may not believe what it is. It was the presentation of Michael Anisette, who spoke about the e-identity and the call for the use of technology being online.
I was in Estonia, and I was amazed by the ability of a small European country and the ability of using the technology to really make life easy for everybody. And therefore, the issue of creating an e-identity for each citizen and permanent resident, that is mandatory to access government services and control by the government. How do we have a single unique identity for each citizen and permanent resident? We need to work towards that immediately, and that can be done immediately.
It's interesting that this has come from Labour. I was very intrigued that this has come from Labour. And he also mentioned Estonia. which tells me that we are all on the same wavelength. Estonia is a country about the same size as
all
Trinidad.
on the same wavelength. So you see what they're discussing? You see what they're discussing? They are discussing electronic identity. Alright? Something that will identify you electronically. That is only discussion. That is only table right now, and the reason for that, as I say, is not because homeboy here right, not because like he wanted directly do, as I say, if he had an option not to do it, he would have said by me not time with that. Just them could run out going for my fucking part. I don't care. You understand? You would have said that. You would have said just them good how it running for my part. I don't give a shit. But it's not about him. He have bosses. As I say, there's places in Trinidad and Tobago. There is not proper running water. There are people in Trinidad and Tobago don't even have electricity in their homes. And they live in there. And these things in certain places in the world, like Estonia for example, where them talking about, although the population of Estonia is similar to we own, but they way more developed than we. But somehow or the other they're not seeming to phase him, because these people are governed by others. They are not the head. This man on the screen is not the head of Trinidad and Tobago ultimately. He's just the top minister of this country, the prime minister. But he has a boss. And his boss is who advocating for him to push this electronic identity. Which if they come in, or they might try this and but at the end of the day, you know what coming within that electronic identity? The RFID microchip, which is what the scriptures call the M.O.T.B, the mark of, you know what, right? And this is what this man advocating for ultimately, the M.O.T.B. And this Revelation 13 and verse 16, it says, and he calls it all. I read from 15, it says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he caused it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. You'll be off the grid, except you conform. And that is what this man who was just speaking, and I will play all the rest of the video. That is what he advocating for, as I say, not because of his own mind. He's being told to do these things. Somebody putting the thoughts in his head, and he is acting out what they say. Alright? Because that is how the cookie crumbles with them fellas. Them fellas ain't bosses. They being controlled. And except if, just like how now with Maxine, they're telling everybody without Maxine they can't work, they can't think. When they push this e-identity, this unique identifier, in order for you to access the government services, which would come ultimately in the form of the chip. When they push that, if you accept that, you will be off the grid, you wouldn't have no rights, you would be labeled outcast. Food, clothing, water, these things which seem to be a natural way of life will become the most difficult thing to get if you don't have the M.O.T.B, and that is what they're pushing for, and that is what coming. Alright, and it says, here is wisdom, let him not have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 600, 3 score and 666. Alright, 666. Wickedness, basically, this man does promote. That is all he about. Evil, sin, spells, demon thing. That the vibration he under. Incompletion. So, I will read Revelation 14 and 9 and 10, and then I will play the video and close. Revelation chapter 14 verse 9, it says, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast, and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Alright? That is the judgment for taking the M.O.T.B. So
population,
play this video.
It has a slightly bigger economy. It's a little bigger economy, and it's one of the small European countries on the border.
Before I continue to play this video, I will say Shalom, Akim, stay strong. We almost out of here. He coming heavy with the wickedness. We are to remain in the faith of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai and call on our name for salvation. And praise the Heavenly Father with holy strength, might, soul, body, spirit. Love the brotherhood. Stay strong. Hopefully you've been edified. Let's go and let us play until the end, and then I'll close it off. Shalom. And don't take the M.O.T.B at no cost. It didn't have nothing that they could give you for you to take the M.O.T.B. Shalom.
I've met with the president of Estonia twice. First at CARICOM, and then another time on a bilateral at the UN. Mr. Anisette is quite right when he says that he's discovered that Estonia is such a well-run country on the basis of that e-identity, and it provides such, I won't use the word easy, but I say effective management of the issues a population experience. And nothing will make us perform better than a transformation where public governance and administration is based on e-identity. An e-identity system. Once you had tapped anywhere in the system acknowledges you, and anywhere else you go, you're identified in everything that you do. The president of Estonia told me the way the system works in Estonia is if a person collapses on the pavement, anybody pick up that person, and the authorities, like a paramedic or somebody, that person is carrying the equivalent of an ID card, and they would know everything they need to know about you right then and there, from your blood group, your address, your where you, all the data about you is there. So immediately you are allowing certain things to happen with you if you have that e-identity. The government of Estonia has offered Trinidad and Tobago, at our request, that we want to pattern our system, that transformation that Wilson spoke about. We said to Estonia, this is what we want to do in Trinidad and Tobago. This is what will change Trinidad. And the government of Estonia said, we will try to help you. And if there is one thing, one transformational thing that I hope would be endorsed by this committee's work, is that we move the mountain of paper pushing that takes place in this country and the pretense of monitoring and accountability, and replace it by a system of e-identity, where all 1.4 million of us would have our unique identifier and start from there. All kinds of possibilities would happen. It would have been so easy for the government to put the money in the bank accounts of all the people who were entitled to have it if we had that system. Because that system would have identified you at the employer. It would have identified you at NIS. It would identify you as a person saying, I'm not employed and therefore I qualify for this award, for this relief that is being given. The current system of pushing paper without the e-identity and the use of technology facilitates corruption and waste. And therefore, if we go to what the modern technology allows us to do, we could save significant amounts of resources simply by doing it better. Like in the medical arena, where if you have a drug that is targeting certain cells in your body, you want to know that when the drug is administered, it is getting to those cells, otherwise you're wasting your attempt at administering medication. We have great possibilities here, and I'm so excited hearing what I've heard this evening. One, of the depth of the consultation. Two, the breadth of how far we want to go. I'm looking forward to the draft that is going to come from all this work, because we are really, notwithstanding what the virus is doing to us in terms of our fear and trepidation in dealing with it, but the other side of that coin, which is, it has forced us to examine ourselves, and it may be forcing us to transform to that place where we always wanted to be.